So hello guys, what's up and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's me, your girl barrister Neze, and this is Nezeville. In today's video, we're going to be talking about popular OAP, Daddy Freeze, and the adultery scandal that he has been rocked with. And just like most of our videos, talking about Daddy Freeze and the adultery scandal is not an end to itself. It is merely a means to an end. What do I mean? I mean, we're not just going to be discussing for the purpose, the sole purpose of entertainment. Of course, we're going to have a good gist. What's a Neza video without some gist? Yes, but not just for entertainment purposes. We're going to be getting some enlightenment and discussing the law's position, the legal standpoint of this very common social vice. So if you're new here, you're just seeing my face for the first time, or if you've been watching without subscribing, guys, we need to stop this. In fact, we need to get to a point where I do not even need to interrupt your video, interrupt your flow by reminding you guys to subscribe or to thumbs up. We're supposed to have gotten to that level where once you just click my video, once you see your girl's face, you just go down there and click the thumbs up before we even start discussing. Can we make it a deal? Deal or no deal? So if you are new here, you're seeing my face for the first time, or if you've been watching without subscribing, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Give this video a big thumbs up already. Let it be your culture. You click to the video, you hit the thumbs up. Drop all your comments down in the comment section as we proceed, and stay glued because there is so much more coming your way. Ifedayo Olarinde is a Nigerian broadcaster and of course an on-air personality. He has several years of experience in showbiz. Daddy Freeze, as he is commonly referred to, was born to a Nigerian dad and a Romanian mother. He was born on the 6th of May 1976. He hails from Osun State, but he was bred in the ancient city of Ibadan in Oyo State. Daddy Freeze attended the University of Ibadan, where he obtained a bachelor's degree in sociology. While studying at the university, it is said that Daddy Freeze met and fell in love with a girl called Okweyemi. Okweyemi had recounted that Daddy Freeze was her first love, her first attraction, her first heartbeat, her first everything. And so they fell in love and they got married, and then they had 2 kids, a boy and a girl. Unfortunately, Daddy Freeze's marriage was not happily ever after, as he may have anticipated, or as they may have anticipated. A few years down the line, in 2014, they got engulfed in one of the messiest divorces ever. Okwe had alleged that Daddy Freeze was not only an adulterer, but that he was a violent and abusive man. In an interview she had with Bella Niger, she revealed, and I quote, "I am still in court with him. Our divorce is not final. We have not even had a trial. The issue now is that the last time we went to court, the judge wanted to speak to our children as they were also involved in the abuse. My son has a kneecap that was broken when he tried to cover me when his father was beating me. He is just learning how to walk properly again and started playing football in January. A lot has happened and I've kept quiet because I do not know how to handle this. I kind of saw all of this coming though, because when I was leaving, he threatened me that if I left, he will destroy me on social media because he has the power to do so, as I am nothing and he is everything, and there was no way I was going to survive without him." On how her kids or their kids are coping with the whole separation, she said, "We went on holiday to an African country, and when we got back, the first thing my daughter said to me was, 'Mommy, I'm so glad that this is the house we came back to and not VI.' That's where they used to live with Daddy Freeze." This is the situation where there was abuse every day. A year before I left, I had to stay in the marriage and be called Benedicta. Benedicta is the name of the new woman that Daddy Freeze got married to. But hold on, we're going to get there. I have enough evidence with my lawyers that will show all the abuse I went through. He cursed my son for covering me up while he was hitting me. My kids are in a much better place now and are happy. He used to beat me and put her on speakerphone. That's the new wife. And say, look, I am beating her and she has refused to leave. And then the lady on the other end of the phone would scream at me to get out of the house. But I did not have anywhere to go. This is pathetic if it really did happen. I had no exit strategy, but at the end of the day, I had to leave because if I had died, that is how the story would have ended. On why Daddy Freeze was doing what he was doing, she responded, he was born into an abusive family, so I sort of understood where he was coming from. That was one of the reasons why I stayed so long. Even when people asked why I stayed with him when I was admitted into the hospital in 2006, I told them that this is someone that I basically grew up with. There was so much we had ahead of us, so I wasn't going to walk out on him. If not for my kids, I can assure you that I would have still stayed and he would have killed me. Daddy Freeze also had his own many allegations. He accused his ex-wife of robbing him of peace, and that when he was still married to her, he was always scared and wary of coming back home. He said that he blesses the heavens, blesses the day that she decided to call it quits and walked away from their marriage. He also went ahead to accuse his ex-wife of being violent. So they went through the divorce. It was concluded. She got primary custody of the 2 children, and then they all relocated out of Nigeria. Daddy Freeze had even taken to social media to lament that his ex-wife absconded with their children without his knowledge or his authority or his permission. She just disappeared and relocated without seeking his consent. He said that he hadn't set his eyes on their children for 7 whole years. This year would make it the 8th year, and that if he came across his children on the road, he definitely would walk by because he doesn't even remember. He doesn't even know how they look presently. So sadly, that was how the marriage between Daddy Freeze and Okwe came to an end. And so he moved on. Yes, he sure did. And now he was fully dating, or can we say now dating, a certain lady called Benedicta. Remember that when Okwe, Daddy Freeze's wife, was giving her own story, she said that Daddy Freeze used to beat her and call a certain Benedicta on the phone for her to listen while he beats the wife, telling the Benedicta that look at, I'm beating her, I'm doing everything to make her go, and she is not leaving. And that he had been dating this Benedicta even during the course of their marriage. Now that is an allegation that I cannot verify or confirm. Those are Okwe's words. So Daddy Freeze moved on with Benedicta. Benedicta is a professional chef. She is the MD CEO of Taste Buds Real Niger Cooking, as well as Dictachi Foods Nigeria Limited. Benedicta was previously married. She was married to one Mr. Paul Odekina, and they had 3 children together. When Benedicta's eldest sister passed, she adopted her niece, making her technically a mother of 4. 10 years after being married to Mr. Paul, I mean Benedicta, they got a divorce. Benedicta accused her ex-husband of domestic violence as well as bisexuality. My God, this is getting complicated. This is getting scandalous. She left her husband for domestic violence and then married a man who stands accused by his ex-wife of domestic violence, while the man himself also claims that he was a victim of domestic violence. This domestic violence that you people are sharing everywhere, there is God. Oh. There is God in everything we do. Oh.
Chai, there is God. Oh. There is God, oh. The blood we are sharing, there is God, oh.
So Benedicta left Port Harcourt. She relocated from River State, where she was based with her husband and children, and moved to Lagos, the city where Daddy Freeze is resident. And she moved on with Daddy Freeze. Are we beginning to see the love triangle? But no, this one is not triangle. This one don't pass triangle because the sides of this shape, it is too much. Can you see the love trapezium? But no, can you see it? It's alright. So before we move on, let us read very briefly what Benedicta said about her marriage with her ex-husband, Mr. Paul. She said, "I filed for a divorce from him because of his sexual perversion. And there is a point where you get to as a human being when you realize that something or what your aim is never going to work. Because I signed a contract to marry him, I believed that I was marrying a man that shared the same type of sexuality with me. Don't get me wrong, I do not have issues with people that have different sexual orientations, but when you come and say you want to get into a marriage contract with someone, you both have to share the same sexual orientation. So when you get into that marriage and find out it wasn't what you bargained for, it's like you were tricked into the marriage. The marriage is a sham. For example, we got married in 2002. I filed for a divorce in 2012. For the period of 10 years that we were married, we actually had sexual intercourse just 11 times in 10 years. Wow. He never lets me sleep in his room. I have to stay in my own room. He would only come to see me when he thinks that we should make a baby. Way into the marriage, I caught him red-handed in gay sex. I walked into him in our living room at about 1:30, 1:40 a.m. with a guy I didn't really know, but he obviously walked in with that person at that time of the night, and I walked into them in our living room. She went ahead to say a couple more other stuff, but she concluded by saying the pain that I went through is real and it can only take a lifetime to forget. She also accused him of domestic violence and released medical reports, released evidence to show that her husband or her ex-husband did put his hands on her. Waiting they occur. That is why some younger people, when they see some marriages, when they read some kind of things, when they hear some kind of things, they just give up on marriage and say, this is not for me, I don't want to marry. If these testimonies that we are reading from all these different parties are actually true, it really does paint the picture that marriage is a scary place to be. But is it? No. So Benedicta and Daddy Freeze proceeded to have a son. They had a son in 2015 whom they named Jason. And then a few years after their baby came, they took the bold step to solidify their union. They had a private cozy wedding ceremony all the way in the UK. And celebrity pastor, Pastor Toby, was the best man at that beautiful ceremony. So while Daddy Freeze and Benedicta were getting married and taking vows and falling in love all over again, trouble was brewing. Mr. Paul Odekino, the former husband of Benedicta, Mr. Freeze's new wife, had dragged Daddy Freeze to court, accusing him of committing adultery with his wife. No, not after the marriage ended. Mr. Paul was alleging and asserting in court that during the subsistence of the marriage that he had with Benedicta, Daddy Freeze and his wife Benedicta were having sexual relations. This action was instituted at the High Court sitting in River State, and after much deliberations, evidence, affidavits and counter-affidavits, examination of witnesses and cross-examinations, the court reached a decision. On February 18, 2021, the High Court gave verdict that Daddy Freeze was indeed guilty of committing adultery with Mr. Paul's wife, Benedicta, and slammed him with a fine, slammed him with 5 million naira in damages to be paid to Mr. Paul for sleeping with his wife. Dissatisfied with that verdict, Daddy Freeze challenged that judgment and took the case, appealed the judgment to a higher court, the Court of Appeal. And after 3 years of hearing this case, and the new set of judges would hear it just in case there is a loophole, just in case there is a part that the court with lower jurisdiction missed out on or failed to take account of. And so they did. The trial at the Court of Appeal held, and it took 3 years to come to a conclusion. And just a few days ago, the Court of Appeal reached a verdict. And no, the decision of the lower court was not overturned. It was upheld by the Court of Higher Jurisdiction. The Court of Appeal once again found Daddy Freeze guilty as charged and mandated him to pay the 5 million naira in damages to Benedicta's ex-husband. Now, this forms the core of this video. I will not take a stand and say Daddy Freeze indeed did it or not. Despite after a court verdict, we can categorically say he did it. We are now absolved from treading carefully with the word allegedly. We can fling out allegedly out of the window because there is a court verdict pronouncing the commission of that offense. So despite there is a court verdict which puts it on record that it was done, I wouldn't dwell on what he has done or what he hasn't done. You can give your opinion about that in the comment section. But the core of this video is to bring to your information and buttress the fact that these laws exist. What so many people are oblivious and ignorant about is that there is a provision in our laws that when somebody commits adultery with your spouse, either your wife or your husband, that person is subject to punitive measures in form of damages that will be paid to the spouse of the person that you were sleeping with. The law says, and I read, Section 31 of the Matrimonial Causes Act provides that a party to a marriage can claim damages for adultery if such an act is not condoned and was not perpetrated for up to 3 years before such a claim is made. So for example, if you're a woman and there is this Sisioko that will not let your marriage rest, that you know is having an affair with your husband, the law has provision that can compensate you for both the physical and emotional stress that that adultery has brought to you, just as Daddy Freeze has been mandated by the courts to pay the husband of Benedicta, because according to the weight of the evidence before them, the woman's husband has a case against Daddy Freeze. But there is a but in this provision of the law. It says, as long as that adultery is not condoned. Do you understand the meaning of condonation? When you choose to remain in that marriage, you have condoned the adultery. Oh yes. Because we know that there are some women that are very skilled at blaming other people for their husband's irresponsibility and recklessness. But they have no blame for their wandering husbands. The law does not have provision for people like that. So you cannot remain in the marriage and forgive your husband and then want to go after the person that's committed adultery with him. No, you have condoned that adultery and you cannot sue for damages. These damages would only come up when you vacate the marriage as a result of that adultery. Then in the suit, in the petition that you have filed for dissolution of marriage, you can then join that adulterer, that person that slept with your wife or husband, as a co-respondent to come and answer why of all the kobokos in the world, you chose the one that is married to me. And if the court finds that person guilty, then the court will slam that person a fine, a good fine, to pay to you. And that is exactly what is happening with May, Yul, and Judy. May is not suing her husband for bigamy. It is a crime too. And sometimes you might think that these laws don't work. It's just paper, until you fall victim. Until it's clear for your eye, then you would know that these laws exist. And if they are pursued by people who have time and energy and resources to follow it to the letter, then you would understand that these laws were not enacted for fancy. Until you are made a scapegoat, that's when you know that they actually can be practiced. So yes, bigamy is an offense in Nigeria, although not a very popular case. A lot of people don't even bother. But May is not suing you for bigamy. She's just asking to vacate the marriage. But her lawyers are suing Judy for committing adultery with you. And it is 1000% legal and practiced and enforceable, just as we have seen in this case of Daddy Freeze. You know, I made a post in my community a few days, or was it hours ago? It was about this same May you thing, and I spoke about who women like Judy are and what they are skilled at doing. And one of my soul sisters came to the comments and she said this: you never can tell, Nezeville. May might not be that perfect woman you guys think of. You might be enduring some disrespect and nagging, but seems to endure. Oh, you is not the one that endured. Oh my God, poor you. She concluded by saying, Judy might be God sent to you. Painful as this message was, well, it didn't shock me. I call it the fallacy of rationalization. We as human beings, when we exhibit the worst form of cruelty and evil against somebody else, there is a part of us that tries to rationalize the behavior, just like a coping mechanism, just as a way to cushion that effect on your conscience. You try to rationalize. Haven't you seen domestic staff that kill their bosses and, start to paint the picture? Oh, he is because he owed me salary. Yeah, I've served him for 15 years. He only pays me 20,000 naira. I told him I needed a business. He didn't help me. People that rob banks tell themselves, oh, after all, this bank has been eating my money, taking charges. I beg, after all. No, there's no kind of evil. Think about the evil. Kidnappers, rapists, robbers. There is no kind of evil human being that exists on this earth that do not give themselves a reason to believe that it is okay to perpetrate their evil. Even businessmen that cheat their customers, they will console themselves and say, after all, if Nigeria was okay, will I be doing this? The country hard. It's not only me doing it. There are several reasons. And do you know what is worse than a bad evil person? What is worse than an evil person is an evil person that perpetrates their evil without conscience. Those are the worst kinds. There's some people that are bad, but deep down they feel bad about what they're doing. They know that this thing they're doing is not good. But there's some people, oh my God, in this earth that God has created, there's some people that feel no remorse for whatever they do to other people. Women who console themselves. Or men, are they men? They might be, people who console themselves that, oh, after all, the wife is suffering. The wife nagged him. That's why he came to me. The wife is not a good woman. The husband is always complaining that his wife, she does this, she does that. Just to console themselves for sleeping with another woman's husband and possibly ruining their home. That is what you tell yourself to sleep at night. So in your mind, you are the flawless, perfect, blameless Messiah, ordained from heaven to come and save the man. That's his wife of 17, 20 years that they've been together. That witch that he said he has a witch at home, but they've been together for 15, 20 years with 4 children. You coming in immediately, you are the ordained one, the Messiah. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Christ has come. He who seated on earth and made the married woman's home her footstool. We bless you. He who has been ordained to put the married man out of his sufferings and misery. You. I pity you, my girl. That's all I can tell you. I pity you. If you have this kind of mentality that the reason you are sleeping with another person's wife or another person's husband is because their husband or wife is so bad, but you are the saint, be warned. I am just here to tell you as a messenger that there are not only physical and spiritual implications to doing that, there are legal consequences. So this is not moral counseling. This is legal enlightenment. So if you do not know, now you know. And that law that you think only exists in paper, pray that you don't fall into the hands of someone that would follow it up and deal ruthlessly with you. Let us all be warned. Well, to close this video, Daddy Freeze has one more shot. He can choose to accept the decision of the Court of Appeal and pay the damages of 5 million naira and move on. Or he can choose to challenge it once again to the next court, the most superior court, the Supreme Court. We will keep our eyes open on that and see what he decides to do while we all learn of the reality of these things, because ignorance of the law does not excuse. So guys, yes, we have come to the end of today's video. If you're new here, you've seen my face for the first time, or if you've been watching without subscribing, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, give this video a big thumbs up, drop all your comments down in the comment section. What do you think about this case? What do you think about this law? What do you think about everything that we have discussed? And stay glued, because we have so much more coming your way. It's me, your girl, Barrister Neze, and this is Nezeville. I'll see you guys in my next one. For now.